Again in study battle. So in this session we will discuss Civil Services Mains 2021 Geology optional paper 1, that what type of questions were asked and which type of questions will be there were there. Okay, so let's start our discussion. So if you don't have liked, subscribed and pressed the bell icon still, you can still press the bell icon for the more and such latest informations about the videos or classes. Okay, so this is the paper 1, and I hope you will be aware with the type of syllabus and what is the pattern of the question paper. You all will be aware if you are have attempted the question Civil Services Mains examination, or you are uh, uh, achieving, or you are preparing for the mains point of view. Okay, so general instructions are there, that there are only 5 questions, sorry, overall 5 questions are there, and from the question number 1 and 5, that's compulsory, and out of the remaining 2 sections we have to attempt at 2 questions from one end. Okay, and 1 question from another part. Okay, so if we talk about the part A, you can see, so questions are given in Hindi and English. You all know that is the Civil Services or the Forest Services examination. They are essentially in the bilingual, okay, bilingual methods. And you have to write the answers in that particular language which you have opted in the mains, for the mains paper. Okay, when you would have filled the F, you would have filled the option of your question paper, option of your mains question paper, as well as the option of your language for the interviews also. So firstly we will talk about the part A, and question number 1 is dealing with we have to explain what are the ring of fire. Okay, ring of fire, you are aware with that's a hot point for the earthquakes. Different types of earthquakes occur, okay, on the Richter scale up to 8, 9 and all that. Okay, so this ring of fire that I have to discuss here, you have to explain what is ring of fire. Okay, that's quite easy questions for you to understand, and you have to add how many plates and geographic areas are associated with the ring of fire. Means what are the essential plates which are governing, which are giving rise to such types of earthquakes in the ring of fire, as well as their geographical areas. What are the particular geographical areas where the ring of fire is associated, and what are the plates around them, okay, which are giving rise to such catastrophic earthquakes as well. Next one is we will discuss only the overview of the question paper. If you will be eager to know the answer of a particular question, I will deal with that particular question in a separate video. Okay, this is overall overview. This video is only for the overview point of view. Okay, next is what is geographical information system, particularly known as GIS. So this is very common question, and you have to explain the concept as well as the different types of components which are related to GIS, as well as the function of GIS. Means their concepts, components, as well as the functions, that how geographical information system works and how we can utilize them. Next one is we have to discuss about the stereoscopy, how the stereoscopes are being used. We have already discussed in the GSI point of view. Stereoscopes are the 3D models from which you can identify, which you can view a particular imaginary, so particular images of photography, okay, in remote sensing point of view, in which the overlapping principle is being covered, in which the 60% of one image and 40% of another image gets converted, and you see that particular image with the aid of the stereoscopy. And you have to also point out about the advantages which are very important for the aerial photography interpretation. When we go for the aerial photography, for the interpretation especially, we use stereoscopy in order to cover a large images. We require a stereoscopy for the covering of a large images. Okay, that converts 40% of that second image converts into one image. That's why we can magnify, we can just brief knowledge of that particular image can be got with the help of stereoscopy. You have to also add a note on the elements of photo interpretation. What are the photo interpretation elements which are being used? That's also to be introduced here. Okay. Next one is from the structural geology. What is stereographic projection in structural geology, and discussing the types, nomenclature, as well as the different types of geological plotting techniques. Okay, so there are different geological plotting techniques. The poles we can plot, the planes, the data of the planes and the points or the poles, as well as the okay, these types of plotting techniques we have to discuss here, along with the concept of stereographic projection. Okay, so two types of stereographic projections are there. Ones are used in the crystallography, and another ones are used in the structural geology. Okay, so Wolf net is there and Schmidt net is there. So that you have to discuss here. Next one is discuss stress and stress ellipsoids using the net diagrams. Need diagrams, we have to discuss the stress and strain ellipsoids. This is a very common question which is generally being asked in the civil services mains point of view, as well as for the Indian Forest Services also. Okay, their geology optional is there, so this question is generally asked. Okay, this is the repeated question. Next one is what are the lithospheric plates? Discuss the theory of plate tectonics, and which plates were involved when a major earthquake caused tsunami in Indian Ocean in 2004. Okay, so this question is in regard of the tsunami which has occurred in 2004 in Indian Ocean, when the Indian plate and Australian plate get converged. Okay, and then the lighter one got subducted over the heavier one. Okay, so this is you have to discuss here. And lithospheric plates concept is there, and theory of plate tectonics, that also you have to discuss. Okay, and plates were involved in the Indian Ocean when the tsunami took place, so that you have to discuss. Next you have to discuss the geomorphic processes and cite any 4 aggradational and 4 degradational landforms which are associated with the fluvial process. So this we have to discuss. Okay, the geomorphic processes, different types of geomorphic processes which are taking place, and 4 aggradational as well as the degradational landforms which are associated with the fluvial process, means the river process. Next one is what does attitude of a bed means? Attitude of a bed. Okay, that we have to discuss here. Define strike, dip and direction and dip amount of a bed, explaining how these are represented on a map for vertical, horizontal and inclined strata. Okay, so this is a very practical approach you have to find out. Practical approach have to be shown here. The definition with the need diagram, you can see the definition of strike, okay, dip direction, as well as the dip amount of a particular bed. And you have to also explain the representation, how we represent on a particularly on the map the strike and the dip direction of a vertical, horizontal plus an inclined strata. So this is a very common question, but this is a very practical aspect is there that we have already talked about. So practically you have to pinpoint the directions in vertical, horizontal as well as the inclined strata, that we have to discuss here. Next one is what are the fundamental concepts which are being used in the geomorphological studies. Okay, so fundamental concepts you have to tell about, and you have to also explain the concept of little of the Earth's topography is older than tertiary and most of it's no older than Pleistocene. Okay, so you have to discuss especially about the Pleistocene and the tertiary times. Okay, so this statement is quite helpful. This statement is quite illustrative in itself. So you have to discuss for the topographical changes, and the little of Earth's topography is older than tertiary times and most of it is no older than Pleistocene. Okay, so in between you have to discuss it. Next one is from physical geography. Again, this question is there. Physical geology is there. what is isostasy, isostasy के बारे में आपको बताना है. Then you have to also discuss the different types of theories which has been put forward to explain this concept. Okay, so there is concept of Airy hypothesis, Pratt hypothesis is there. There are these two important theories, hypothesis you have to pinpoint. Since it's a 15 marks question, so you can pinpoint these two theories. Okay, where the same density and same volume of the plates, the same volume and same density, that's the main important criteria on which this Airy and Pratt's hypothesis has been defined. Okay, one has proposed the same density and another one has proposed the same volume. Next one is what is a fold domain. Okay, this fold area you can call them, where the hinges, the limbs, they are associated, as well as the fault plane is fold plane is there. Okay, you have to discuss any 8 types of folds depending on the closure of the fold domains. Okay, so this is different types of folds are there depending upon the different concepts. Okay, the attitude of beds, okay, the fold angle, okay, and the interlimb angle, as well as the closure of the fold domain. Okay, so 8 types of folds we have to discuss on the basis which are dependent upon the closure of fold domain, that you have to discuss. Next one is what are the hanging wall and foot wall, that you have to concept. This is a very important concept which has been asked here, hanging wall and foot wall concept. And you have to also describe different types of classes of faults which are generally based on the relative movement of faults. Okay, so especially generally you have been asked for the normal fault and reverse fault. So these are two basic faults which are differentiated, which are being governed on the basis of hanging wall and foot wall. Okay, when hanging wall moves away or the foot wall moves down, on that basis you have to define these two, the most important faults which are based on the hanging wall and foot wall movement, with respect to movement of these two walls. Fourth question is fourth B, that is there are two questions simultaneously. Here you have to talk about the what are the atmospheric windows which are being generally used in the remote sensing. Okay, so this is quite helpful and quite important question, basic question especially. And what are the spectral reflectance curves? This is little bit applicative question, spectral reflectance curve, and we have to discuss how clear water, dry soil and healthy vegetation can be demarcated by using the spectral reflectance curve with neat sketches. So this is again very descriptive type of questions. Here you will have to draw the graph paper, means graphical representation will have to shown that where the spectral reflectance of this clear water, you have been assigned 3 terms, clear for the clear water, for the dry soil, as well as for the healthy vegetation. For these 3 points you have to discuss the spectral reflectance curve. Okay, if you will ask for any question to be discussed, I will discuss it in a separate video. Okay, today we are dealing only with the overview of the question paper, means which types of question were there. 4C is dealing with the define the drainage pattern. This is very important topic from the geomorphology section or physical geology section. You have to define the drainage pattern, different types of drainage pattern, drainage textures and drainage anomaly. Okay, so this is all about the geomorphology, especially for the fluvial system. Also give their general classification, discuss the significance of those in geological interpretation of aerial photos and satellite images. Okay, so this you have to discuss. This is a little bit elaborative question. It's 15 marks question, but it's quite lengthy question if we talk about this question. Next one is part B or section B. You can see what are the megafossils. 2 types of fossils are there, megafossils and microfossils. Generally questions are being asked from the microfossils, but since the question is being asked from the megafossils, give name of any 3 age diagnostic megafossils indicating their significance in Indian stratigraphy. Okay, so generally in respect with the Indian stratigraphy, you have to deal with the 3 age diagnostic megafossils. Okay, so you can discuss about any of the megafossils like bivalve, okay, brachiopod or echinoid, any type of fossils we can discuss. What is paleogeography? And discuss various tools which are being employed for the paleogeographic reconstruction. Okay, so this is again very literary type of questions. These types of questions are generally asked. So paleogeography, you have to three terms are there: paleogeography, paleoclimatology. Okay, so paleoecology is also there. So paleogeography you have to discuss about, and the various tools which are generally employed in order to reconstruct the paleogeography of a particular area. Okay. Next one is dealing with the, you have to define the lithostratigraphy, enlist the diagnostic properties of lithostratigraphic units, giving examples from Indian stratigraphy. Okay, so different types of the properties, diagnostic properties of lithostratigraphic units. Okay, you have to discuss about the formation, the beds, the group, the supergroup. This all reconstruct, this all constitute the lithostratigraphy. Okay, and you have to include the examples from Indian stratigraphy especially. Discuss the characteristics of confined and unconfined aquifers. So this is again very basic question from the hydrogeology or geohydrology. Aquifers, especially the confined and unconfined aquifers. Okay, especially the characteristics point of view we have to discuss. Discuss briefly the characteristics of earthquakes resistant structures. Okay, when we construct a earthquake resistant structure, what are the main characteristics of that structures? Okay, how the beams are being placed, how the vertical columns are being placed, and where the windows and where the windows are being placed for the passes of that forces and that stress and strains, that we have to discuss. Discuss the evolutionary trends in the lineage of equity, and we have to also give any two examples of the Indian occurrences of the equity. So equity means you have to talk about the evolutionary trends of the horses. Okay, so this is the question from the vertebrate paleontology. Two examples from the Indian occurrences. Two examples. One I remember, that is the Siwal hippus. Okay, nagriensis, that is from the Dhok Pathan area of Sivalik. Okay, so from the middle Sivalik formations, the Dhok Pathan formation, from there the Siwal hippus nagriensis is the most important equidy or horse, we can call them. Nowadays the term horse is being represented, but in literature, for the literature point of view or for the paleontological perspective, we call them equity. Okay, the different types of evolutionary trends, the trends which have been taken place for the evolution of equity, that we have to discuss. You have to describe the Cenozoic stratigraphy of Kutch area, so Kutch basin especially, so Cenozoic of Kutch, and comment on its fossil content, which type of fossils are there, as well as the depositional environment, means which type of environment has taken the deposition has taken place in which type of environment. Okay, so this is a very quite easy question, you can call them. Okay, depending upon your preparation and the topics being given in the syllabus. Next one is describe briefly as to why artificial recharge is essentially required for in confined aquifers. Explain with suitable diagrams a typical injection well for a rooftop harvesting of water. Okay, so the need for the artificial recharge, okay, you have to discuss, and also you have to explain with suitable diagrams the typical injection wells, especially in the rooftop harvesting of water, that we have to discuss. Next one is again from the stratigraphy. Describe the stratigraphy and the depositional environment of Gondwana supergroup. Okay, stratigraphy, Gondwana supergroup, and the depositional environment, means in which type of environment the Gondwana supergroup has been deposited, and discuss why only certain intervals of Gondwana successions are rich in coal seams. Okay, so we all know that is most of the coal seams in the Gondwana supergroup, they are being deposited at the coastal area along the rivers, okay, like Damodar rivers, the Godavari river, okay, Pranhita Godavari basin, okay, or the you can call them Damodar basin, okay. So this is the topic which you have to discuss in detail, the stratigraphical point of view and the depositional environment, as well as for the why the intervals, such intervals are there, means the Gondwana succession is not rich in coal in at all the time, okay, only a different set of pattern are there, why at one place of time the succession has taken place, okay, not all over the Gondwana supergroup. Next one is, what are the trace fossils? Describe the modes as well as the mode of preservation of trace fossils and comment on the geological significances. Okay, so this is all about the trace fossils here you have to discuss. Next one is various types of dams with suitable sketches. Comment on the geological conditions which are required for the site selection of each type of dam. Okay, so you can talk about the different various types of dams, means there may be earth fill dam, okay, gravity dam, arc dam, buttress dam. So these types of dams you can describe here, and you have to also comment on the geological conditions, means what are the geological conditions, means for the, suppose we call about the structural properties, means what should be the structural conditions of that particular area, what should be the physical conditions of that area, okay, what are the hydrogeological conditions of that area. So that we have to talk about. Next one is question number 8 is dealing with the give a brief account on the sources of groundwater pollution in India and discuss the management of groundwater resources. Okay, so you have to discuss here the sources of groundwater pollution, means from where the groundwater pollution is being carried in the Indian scenario, and you have to discuss the management of groundwater resources. So this is a quite essay type question. Here you have to write down this answer. And next one is, what are the microfossils? Discuss the applications of microfossils in petroleum exploration. So you can see the question is being asked from both the fossils, that is the megafossils question was there, and in question number 8 there is microfossils. So both types of questions are there. So microfossils and megafossils both we have to discuss. The application of microfossils in petroleum exploration, especially for the petroleum point of view, that we have to discuss. Next one is, what are the mass extinction? What are mass extinctions? And you have to comment on the various hypotheses which has been proposed for the causes of Permian Triassic mass extinction. Okay? So Permian Triassic boundary mass extinction, why it has taken place, what were the hypotheses or what were the causes behind this extinction, that you have to discuss. Okay, so this is overall view of the paper number 1, and in the next video we will talk about the paper number 2, and after that in a new session we will talk about, if you will ask any particular question to elaborate, I will try to discuss about that solution. Okay, thank you.